Well, from assignment deadlines, time management to paying tuition fees on time. These are just some of the stresses students face at institutions of higher learning. Now, coping with these pressures are crucial to a successful academic career. And it does raise the question of whether students have the emotional and mental preparedness to face the demands of higher education. Jenna Bayer is a counselling psychologist and she joins us now on the desk. Good afternoon, Jenna. Happy New Year to you, and always a pleasure having you on the SABC News Desk.
Happy New Year to you, Kirsch. Good to be here.
All right, so now for most of our learners out there, it's such a difficult path to begin with to actually gain access to institutions of higher learning, Jenna. And once they're there, it's not all smooth sailing. What are some of the transitional stresses, if I can call it that, that students have to cope with, first-time students at campuses across the country, that is?
So firstly, language barrier. So say you live in a small village in Limpopo, and now you're coming to UJ and you're having to do sort of complicated work in a language that's perhaps your third language. So firstly, language barriers. Secondly, unfortunately, universities that are not really conducive to safety. So adjusting to the safety of a university, which might be daunting for some, especially obviously for girls. So that's a big factor. Embracing the fact that a university is not a sort of structured space all the time where you have your lessons and then you go home. Here it's you go, the lecturer doesn't know who you are, and then you go home. So now you're just a number. So there's that factor as well. So there's perhaps less personal attention. So those are some of the factors. So there's a word I've used a lot today in conversations before I came here, and that word is embrace. And my concern is a lot of people who go to university just see it as, I have to pass, and it's all about academics. But no, academics, yes, is a massive factor. But are you embracing the university experience? And that means finding your voice, learning about different cultures, having a cause to fight for. That is what university is about. In other words, are you embracing democracy, which you have? I mean, I look at myself, the fact that I can sit here, could I have a trans woman 40 years ago, I can sit here without batting an eyelid. Yes. Now, this is what I'm talking about, embracing democracy, which you as students get to do.
In terms of managing workload and managing time, etc., at institutions of higher learning, what are some of the self-management skills that children need at this level, Jenna? And is it being developed adequately at school level already, do you think? Because we do see such a high dropout rate of students from university. Many don't go on to complete their courses of choice.
Well, I don't know if it is at schools, firstly because there's so many kids in a class that it's harder, especially in the rural areas or in poorer communities, it's harder for teachers to have personal attention. So that guidance is harder. Especially in those contexts. So firstly, routines, to obviously have a diary and to set yourself goals. What do I want to achieve, whether it's social goals, academic goals, for sports goals, you can obviously compete for your university as well. So have goals, that's someone. 2, the why, the motivation. Why am I at university? Am I here to make my parents happy and just to get a degree and to keep up with the Joneses? Or am I doing this for me? That's the second thing. And the third thing is to assess the market. So is my qualification, is it employable? Am I researching what I can do when I finish studying? So not just to be at the university for the sake of a degree. Those are the things I'd look for in terms of the motivation. And then once you're in, to make sure you have mental breaks, to have study groups with your friends, so to embrace different people, not just being alone all the time, because then university can become a drag, those kind of things.
Jenna, stress can often cause other issues, I've read, like insomnia, like depression. What are some of the early warning signs we should look out at if parents and caregivers have children at university or other institutions of higher learning that we should look out for, that can tell us at least or preempt that things are not going so well?
So they're numerous. Sleeplessness, so obviously insomnia or sleep disturbance, disruptive eating patterns, so they're not eating anymore or overeating, back pain, neck tension, anxiety all the time, gastrointestinal problems, social withdrawal from friends, sort of hard workers turning into workaholics, so not having any mental breaks at all. Then a thing called presenteeism, where you're at university but you're not really there. So you're disrupting your friends. You're not studying at all. You're just simply there, and you're very sort of irritable all the time. Increased cigarette smoking, increased alcohol consumption, where you're needing it all the time to escape the challenges that you are going through. Yeah, so those would be some of the things, and to recognize those first and to not stigmatize mental health.
Very quickly, I want to touch on a point you raised a little bit earlier on crime or the fear of crime. Now, we've had a number of incidences of stabbings and rapes, etc. on campuses. So bodily safety of students, a huge concern. How does that impact on prospective students' psyche, given that they have a new environment to cope with? And what would that kind of worry, how would that kind of worry actually impact on the learning process?
So I'll give you an example as a therapist of a case I heard, just to give you some real context. A student said to me, she said, the university are kicking me out because I'm failing all my subjects. But then she said, the reason I'm failing so much is because I've been raped 3 times. So now I would have to write a letter to the powers that be at the university, trying to motivate why they must keep the student. But then the university would say, we can't keep her, we've got a waiting list of people wanting to take her place, and then it becomes a money issue. So 9 times out of 10, she's out the university. Okay, so the first thing is accountability from the powers that be at the university, to not be reactive, to look at the precipitating factors that lead to dropout. A university that's not cultivating safety, rape culture, which quite frankly they're still not taking responsibility for, etc. So if you're a prospective student, I'll be honest, this is something to worry about. And that's why I mentioned in our first question about finding your voice. Yeah, because even when you leave university, you're still going to have to use your voice. You might experience sexual harassment in the workplace or wherever you are. So this is a great opportunity to find the voice. The fees must fall students use their voice and look at what happened. That's the opportunity you have to embrace. And that is what can happen at university. And I had to give that context because 10 years later, after me working at a university, the rape culture still remains.
Jenna Bayer, counselling psychologist, thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk.